Are you interested in stories of action and adventure? If so, I recommend checking out my episode-based book series, The Demon Slayer Sidekick, on Kindle Vella. The first 3 episodes are free to read, and new ones drop every single week. That's all I have to say, and now, onto the video. Hello everybody! JCC Anime here, and today, we are here to review Hell's Paradise, or Jigokuraku. I probably said that wrong, but we're just gonna roll with it. So, what is the story of this series? Well, it all follows this guy named Gabimaru, who, after wanting to get a pardon in order to go and be with his wife, he's told that he has to go find this elixir of immortality or something, and him along with a lot of other criminals, because he's a criminal, have to go on that island and try to find it. So yeah, that was a terrible description, but we're just gonna roll with it. So in terms of some stuff I can talk about and some spoiler-free thoughts, I thought this was actually a decently enjoyable series. Like, I will admit, when the series first started, like when I was first getting into it, like the first 4 to 5 episodes, I wasn't getting into it that much. In fact, I honestly didn't really like it at all. I was getting bored due to all the different things that we were going through, and it was getting kind of dull. But then after we get introduced to the main bad guys of the whole story, that's when things actually started to pick up for me. Like, they started to get really good, and the more I watched, the more I thought, dang, I want to see what happens with these characters next. And from there, it just ended up being super entertaining, and I really liked it. So, yeah. In terms of protagonists, Gabimaru is actually quite interesting. Like, he may not have a lot of depth to him. He doesn't have, like, a lot of depth, but he does have that whole, like, mysterious persona of his where he's not really as bad of a person as everybody else is, and he's just trying to make it back to his wife. And it's noticeable by some people, such as the samurai who ends up following him around, Sagiri, who realizes maybe there's more to this man than just a killing machine since he's an assassin. And I think that there's just a lot of interesting things here with both those characters especially. I actually was surprised how much I really enjoyed seeing Sagiri prove all these things wrong and show that she can handle things as much as everybody else can. I really appreciated that. And overall, I think her character is pretty close in terms to Gabimaru's in terms of, like, I kind of want to see more of her doing things. And the other characters sometimes really did stand out and were really good. There were some that you kind of could just forget immediately because, well, some people, this may be a spoiler, but some people do die in this series because it is an action shonen-like series. I don't know if shonen is the right word for this case, but it is an action series. And of course, people are going to die in action series. That's just kind of par for the course for the most part. But it did surprise me how enjoyable this series got at times, since when I was going into this, I honestly wasn't thinking much of it. In fact, I didn't even know that Mappa was the one behind this show. I just heard this show was pretty solid and decided, you know what? Sure, I'll try and check it out. And I actually was surprised when it was quite enjoyable at times. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but there's still a lot of good things to appreciate here, especially due to some other characters in there as well. Such as, I don't remember their names right now, but there's like this one samurai and this other person who they were kidnapped from their village when they were young, and they were forced into this whole situation, and the samurai's trying to help them get out of it. I'm not going to explain what happens to them during the story, but it's a really interesting story, and I think that's what really changed my opinion on the whole show. Because while there is one massive flaw with this show, that being that there's too many character backstories being told at the beginning, that backstory was actually quite nice and interesting, and I really enjoyed the whole thing with the samurai and his backstory. But I guess that's also something I want to talk about as a complaint. There are too many backstories being told at the start. Like, if it was just like 1 or 2 backstories in like episodes 1 to 2, then maybe another backstory in 5 to 6, and so on, just slowly leaking out the backstories, that would have been fine. But practically throughout the entire first 1 to 5, maybe even 6 episodes, it's just backstory after backstory after backstory after backstory, and it kind of got old. It got old for me personally. It got very boring, especially with how much dialogue is being put into this series, since it's hard to really get into parts of this story since there's so much dialogue. They're trying to describe everything to you, which makes it a bit harder to just take in your surroundings, since one thing about the show is that the environment they're surrounded in actually has a lot of really unique textures and design to it that I think would be cool just to explore and look at. But they're always talking about it. They're always trying to go into every little detail they can. That makes it kind of awkward to sit through at times. But yeah, There's also a very interesting twist that occurs in this season that happens at the very end, and I'm not going to spoil it until the spoiler section, but it really caught me off guard. I actually was very surprised that that's the route they decided to go with the story in that direction. And as I said before, I'll talk about it in the spoiler section. Overall, though, it was quite nice. And if I had to give this whole season a like full-on thought process, I guess I could say that I really enjoyed it. It was a bit rough at the beginning, a bit hard to sit through, but after we got to the main villains being introduced, I was actually really starting to enjoy myself, and I'm glad I stuck around because it was actually really fun to watch after that. But yeah, that's all I can really say without spoiling anything, so we're just gonna hop into the spoiler section now. Here's a timestamp to when the spoilers end. If you have seen the show, I'd recommend sticking around to hear my thoughts, but if you haven't, just skip to the end so you don't get spoilers. But again, if you have seen it, I recommend sticking around to hear my thoughts. So yeah, we're gonna count up from 5 and enter the spoiler section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so in terms of spoilers, I just want to talk about the twist right off the bat. Gabimaru losing his memory at the end of the series because of overusing the powers that he just learned how to kill a lot of these monsters with. Well, mainly the practically immortal ones. And when I saw that, I just thought, wow, he lost those memories. That is crazy. I was actually genuinely shocked when it happened, and it just caught me off guard. I was not expecting to go that route. And I liked it. I thought it was a very interesting twist to see how things play out. And while it is the end of the season, I do think I would like to see a season 2 and see how his whole memory loss thing pans out and how they're going to try to fix it. But he's not the only interesting character in this show. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the thing I mentioned before. I don't remember their names, but the samurai and the one convict who is like the last member of their village, who is this girl who is just kind of being forced into the situation, and the samurai tries to help her, and he ends up running into his master, and they end up forming a group, and then the samurai dies. At least I think he does. Who knows? Maybe he's alive. Who knows? You never know with this story. This story is quite interesting with how it handles it. Like, unless you're decapitated, it's kind of hard to believe you're dead, or if if you've been literally turned into a giant plant like some of the characters. But it is very interesting to see how those two stories played out, especially with how the girl ended up being taken from her village against her will by some other samurai and was forced into this position that she didn't want to be in. And this other samurai took pity on her and was like, yeah, I'll help you out. I'll try to help you survive. And that was really interesting. And the whole backstory with him was really nice. And I think it was just the moment when I realized, wait, did this show actually get kind of good? Because at the start, I was very hesitant with the series. Like, I was very much in the I'm not sure if I like this phase when I was watching. Like, I sat through the first 4 to 5 episodes and thought, okay, this is happening. Oh, another backstory. Okay, I guess there's another backstory. Oh, great. Okay, we're getting another. Okay, this character's dead, so I don't see why we need this backstory. But once we got to that point, and the main villains were finally introduced to the story and playing their role, I started to think, okay, this is actually getting good now. Just these villains that they had to face off against were really interesting, and I'd love to see how they take them all down, especially with Gabimaru in this current state. And I just find the whole thing with those two groups in particular, like Gabimaru's group with him, Sagiri, and the others, along with the master who's still alive, along with the girl and their adventures. It's just, I mean, they've combined now, at least Sagiri and the other group. Well, Gabimaru went off and created his own another little group before he lost his memories. I just really enjoy seeing all these interactions with these different characters, especially with how things have gotten so intense that now they've realized they're no longer samurais and criminals. They're just all people trying to survive. And it's just gotten more and more interesting as the stories went on. I wouldn't say it's perfect. As I mentioned before, there are some negatives, like how many backstories there are at the start. There's so many, it got on my nerves. But after we got all that past us and started focusing on the main story, things started to really pick up gears. And I really liked that because I was really happy to see us actually getting some story. So while the story's beginning was a bit slow, I still really enjoyed a lot of parts to it. And I really do want to kind of see where things go from here, especially now that we've learned that the elixir of life that they're searching for doesn't actually exist. Only something kind of like it that everyone can't really have unless they have these specific requirements. And I just want to see what happens next. Like, I'm surprised how much I got into this near the end, and I like it. Though I don't know how to feel about the two brother characters. Basically, there's this one brother who became a samurai to help his own brother get out of prison, but then offered him this elixir of life deal thing that would let him get free. And it's this whole interesting thing where their first confrontation with the main bad guys, they're almost killed and they're sent to this pit where the older brother, the one who was a criminal, ends up seeming like he's infected by something that's, while his abilities have grown stronger, he's also having something happen to him from the inside. And while it was kind of interesting, I think they were probably my least favorite part of the consistent cast that wasn't killed off. And it's not because they were bad in particularly, but it's just like I didn't really care much about them. They had their cool moments, but overall I didn't really care much for their characters. They are definitely on the bottom pole in terms of characters I really want to think about, but yeah. Overall, I think that a lot of the cast in this were a lot of fun to watch. Even that weird shinobi lady with the clearly suggestive ooze that she drinks in order to create these webs and stuff. But I think that there's a lot of fun here to be had, and I enjoyed it. A lot more than I thought I would. I thought I was going to go into this thinking it was going to be meh, since I've seen a few Mappa projects, and one thing I do notice about Mappa projects is this an actual pretty common occurrence? Because I've noticed a lot with Mappa projects, even Mappa stuff I haven't watched but I know about. They seem to love animes where, like, they seem to love making animes that focus entirely on more crazy, bizarre designs. Like, if you make a series with bizarre designs inside of it, they're usually going to animate it. Because that happened with Chainsaw Man as well as Attack on Titan, where there's these shows with these bizarre looking creatures. And I noticed that just seems to be Mappa's ballpark, since those types of ridiculous character designs were in this show as well. There were all of these crazy, wild, bizarre, strange creatures, and I'm wondering if that's just like Mappa's thing. I've only watched a few Mappa projects, and while I've never watched Jujutsu Kaisen, I have seen that there apparently are monsters like that in that show. So I think that's just like their thing or something. I don't know. I'm just gonna say it's their thing. I don't really have a full opinion on Mappa. Like, I enjoy some of their projects, but I wouldn't really say I'm super into them. But I say I still enjoy most of their projects for the most part. But yeah, overall though, I think this series was fun. It wasn't perfect, but I had a good time. I think it was pretty fun, and I would love to check out a season 2. So, yeah. That's all I really have to say, so we're at the conclusion of this video, and what are my final thoughts? Honestly, a fairly good time. I enjoyed myself and thought there were lots of really nice and really good moments that I could enjoy, and overall, a pretty solid series overall. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I still think it was a nice series, and that's why I give Hell's Paradise an 8 out of 10. Fairly enjoyable, decently good, would definitely tune in for another season, so yeah. That's all I really have to say, so thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I always welcome new anime fans to the channel, and I will see you all around. Peace!